million guns in America for 250 million adult Americans. Within the next couple of years, the number of guns in the US will double the number of adults in the US. And this is
Well,
a multi decade failure of our elected leaders to do anything meaningful about it. And we're not going to get rid of the guns, but we could require biometric locks, which are cheap, effective technology that only allow the registered users of the gun to pull the trigger. But the NRA hasn't allowed that. But
yeah.
that it wouldn't have stopped yesterday's mass shooting because that a-hole bought his own guns, but it would stop a
Right.
lot of shootings. It's just a little box that goes on the trigger. You need a fingerprint, your own, to pop off the box, and
Hmm.
so that's what I'm thinking about.
That's a possibility and everything like that. By the way, the grand jury declined to indict the alleged Washington, D.C. sandwich thrower. So I guess that means that through the sandwich, the federal agent doesn't have to worry about being
Well, they charged him
prosecuted.
with a felony for throwing a sandwich, and I would assume the grand jury thought this was overly punitive.
Right.
That's Janine Pirro, TV's Judge Janine, who tried to get the indictment, and she failed 3 times, I believe.
Hey, this is something that Sharice may be interested in. I'd love to hear his thoughts about it. But apparently, the Trump administration is planning to limit how long foreign students can study in the U.S. So the Trump administration is planning to impose a 4-year limit for foreign students studying in the U.S. So students from Bangladesh could come here, but they would have a 4-year limit to be able to stay here, which is about how long an undergraduate degree takes. And I don't know how that would work if they're going to like graduate school, like law school, or if they're going to go to some of the other types of.
Right, to go to med school and then be a resident takes what, 6 years at least? For some specialties, probably 7 years.
Yeah, I think it's at least 6 or 7, 8, and even law school might take up to 7 or 8 years. So that might rule those out. It says
So
F1 visa students in the U.S. can't change courses, universities in first year after new visa rules. So it seems like maybe they can only come to undergraduate, or maybe only come to graduate school. But I don't know, Sharif, what is your thoughts around that? Because that would impact some of your students from.
Actually, what I see, even just a few minutes ago, I discussed with one of my student who was in USA. He came back Bangladesh. So country like Indian students, Bangladeshi students, Pakistani or Chinese students, they will figure out new destination. Let's say Australia, right? Maybe they will figure out Germany or they will figure out UK. Honestly speaking, how I see the diplomatic relationship with USA, with South Asia, with India, I see USA actually losing the positive momentum. I want to share few news, maybe that will be helpful for today's discussions.
Yes.
Number one, if you see the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi embark on the strategic Asian tour, this is first time he is making relationship with the China, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has begun a diplomatic tour to China, then Japan, and then Russia, aiming to strengthen the tie, aim the economical pressure streaming from steep US tariff of up to 50% on Indian export. In China, his engagement includes Shanghai Corporation Organization Summit and discussions with the Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. In Japan, focus will be on critical minerals, high value manufacturing investment, regional security under the Quad initiative. Japan is expected to invest around 10 trillion yen in India over the next decade. So I believe this is some strategical change is
Nick, your
happening in
voice, yeah.
Asia Pacific. Beside that, I want to share some other information from this Asia Pacific regions in Hong Kong. The high-profile national security trials of media tycoon Jimmy Lai has reached its final argument. So that is another issue. And Malaysia hosting another summit. It's called RCEP Summit. So Malaysia, currently the chair of ASEAN's, plans to organize a summit for the regional comprehensive economic partnership in this October 2025. This summit aims to review progress, accelerate implementation, strengthen Asian leadership. So you can see the Asia Pacific countries, they also developing a strong alignment in between them. Definitely, USA has right to make all of the tariffs and all of the discussions in between them. But beside that, Asia Pacific also accelerate their nuclear power. They want to avoid this like this coal power plant and all of the things. That's why this Vietnam, Malaysia, with the help of Russia, they're developing this strategic alignment. So this is the strategic things in Asia Pacific with India, with Vladimir Putin in Russia. Also, Trump is a very good friend of Russia. But this China-India alignment, uh, including Russia, it will be big challenge for USA. So when you discuss about the international students, I know that USA has many private universities, and this private university heavily dependent on India and Chinese students. And I'm sure this business actually moving to China, because China is developing a lot of universities. They're providing a lot of scholarship investments in China. They also move in Japan. Japan is a very good destination for higher education. Also, Australia. Australia is a very good place for immigrations and all of the things. I do not know what Trump will do, but definitely this alignment will give more strategic benefit for South Asia and Asia Pacific countries. Thank you.
Well,
Nick.
that said a lot, didn't it, Sharif?
Okay. What's your thought?
Is he frozen? Well, what you're trying to say is the United States should recruit the best and the brightest throughout the world.
We always have. We always have for 100 years.
And then what?
And now
Yeah.
we're giving it up. The U.S. is
full year.
the U.S. is only 4% of the world's population. There are a bunch of best and brightest out of the remaining 96, and we used to be a beacon of where to go to get educated, where to build a business, and we're just throwing it all away. The measure of how crappy a president is how many years after the guy leaves office it takes to fix all the crap he put in place. And with Trump was so crappy the first time he was president that it made Biden's presidency look so crappy that Trump got elected again. So it's
Just one thing when you discuss about meritocracy. As a scholar, I get chance to involve with all of the Ivy League universities in my last 15 years of journey. I can share, if you see the South Asian student, example, the Indian origin students, they are very good at mathematics. I'm very honest with you, compared to the British student, compared to the North American students. Indian students are very good at STEM educations. So if you see the major development in Silicon Valley and USA, it's through this all of the brilliant people from around the world, all of the meritorious students, all of the talented people from around the world. And when they come back to India, let's say India trying to build up their own Silicon Valley, definitely with these brilliant students. So USA, last 100 years, they play a major role for bringing all of the talented people in their ecosystem. And with these systems, USA, I want to say, they are actually destroying the talent ecosystem for their countries. This will be big threat for their corporations. And on the other hand, the Asia Pacific corporations like South Asian corporations, Indian corporations, Bangladesh corporations, like this Chinese corporation, they will be heavily benefited through these talented people. So we can see the result next 5 years, but I am very much sure USA is losing highly talented people through these immigration procedures.
Speaking
That, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of highly talented people and everything along those lines, I got a couple of questions for Nick. One that, like I said earlier, I was joking about, but he's gone off camera and everything like that. So I'll ask all of you folks for right now and everything. And then when he comes back, I'll ask him about some university studies that I'm hearing about and everything like that. But just really quickly, they're saying that Kilmar Abrego Garcia can't be deported until at least early October. That's what a judge ruled on yesterday, and the judge is blocking Trump's administration from deporting Kilmar Abrego Garcia again. So it looks like he's renewing his push for asylum in the U.S., and he's even looking at some countries that might be willing to accept him. I know there was a push to try to get him to be imprisoned in Uganda and everything like that. So what is our take on this effort for him to get asylum and everything? So you got any thoughts on this, Rick? You're a very smart gentleman and everything like that. So any thoughts?
He was entitled to be in the U.S., and then they trumped up some charges that months ago, or maybe even years, they found him driving a truck that had 9 other people in it, and I believe he was driving to a job site because he's a construction worker, and it may have been even an out-of-state job site that they were. And the feds are now charging him with smuggling illegal immigrants. No, he was driving people to work. He wasn't driving them to relocate them, to scatter them, to hide them in the U.S. He was. So it's a bullshit charge. And it's really an incompetent administration trying to continue to defend its mistake where they deported him in the first place.
Well,
but we should talk about Russia blew up a bunch of Kiev yesterday.
Yes.
So we should talk about that.
Yeah, I was going to get to that as well because I did see that is an area where we actually have a correspondent. I hope that Ivan is doing well. Don't know how close he was to the attack and all along those lines, but I do know that on Sasha's show, which we'll have on tomorrow, that he does usually come from that area. So I don't know whether you've heard from him since those attacks, but I know he was on the show on Tuesday and everything like that. So how is Ivan doing, and also your thoughts around those attacks and everything, Sasha?
Well, what's happened there, you can compare only to what's happened in Israel when Iran has attacked territory of Israel with missiles and drones, and there were very strong and deadly attacks. So besides the Israeli shoot down a lot of missiles and drones, Israeli population was disciplined enough to go for cover in the shelters, and therefore the losses of Israelis were really minimal. There's something else I'd like to mention is that when October 7th happened in Israel, a lot of Israelis who were overseas, outside of Israel, they immediately rushed to first available planes to come back to Israel to its defense. I wish same attitude would be applicable to Ukrainians, because their country is in danger and all Ukrainians have to defend its country. They have to hide in shelters and not being distracted by all this peace negotiations, because nothing will happen there. How much time do you need? What, a year, 5 years, 25 years until you will understand? There will be no peace with Russia because their goals, Russian and Ukrainians, are completely irreconcilable. Russia wants to dominate, or if not, then destroy Ukraine. Ukraine wants to get Russian invaders out of the country. How you can reconcile it? You cannot. Therefore, you're wasting your time.
Hey, Sasha, along those same lines and everything I mentioned earlier, I think before all of you joined and everything, that and I know you've been a fan of it. You even said that the U.S. might need to go this route as well. But what is your thoughts around Germany looking at possibly going into the drafts, because they are concerned about Russia as well? So it looks like they have drawn up some legislation around conscription and looking possibly at starting a draft there in Germany. And will we see other Eastern European countries do the same?
Yes, for sure, because it's not only a Russian threat, it's a possibility that if Trump will bring Ukraine on a little plate to Putin, and there will be the end of the war in Ukraine, then Europe is next. And not only the United States will not help Europe against Russian invaders, there are a lot of evidence that in fact Trump may help Russia to fight Europe, because a lot of the idea of making America great again, it means not only whether US will be advanced to a next level, but to bring other country, US competitors to destruction. And Western Europe is it's a top competitor. It's not China, it's Western Europe. It's a top competitor to US. Now, US, what you were discussing earlier, I'd like to emphasize that US is losing its soft power. The US, which was always considered as a cradle of civilization, humanity, education, business, sciences, is losing all that. Now is China becoming more attractive option than the United States. And with this tariffs, stupidest policies, United States made it possible for India, for China to become very active, to strengthen their ties to Russia. And therefore, it's a complete disaster of U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah, I hear you on that and everything. Hey, Rick, you're maybe a couple of years older, not much older, but a couple of years older. I think you're 65 or 66. I just hit 63 not that long ago and everything like that. But I do remember as a youth, and I was a youth at the time, a lot of people that were protesting Vietnam and other things going on, even some of the civil rights struggles. One of their main ways of protesting, and some people found it was a effective way of protesting, was flag burning. It has a long history in the U.S. and definitely it had legal protection from the Supreme Court, but now there's an executive order banning it and everything. So I just wanted your take on flag burning from a historical perspective, and also this notion that it is now going to be
it pops up every once in a while, and it's another one of those distractor issues. It's got no real you can feel one way or the other about it, but it's just more garbage out of the Oval Office to distract from the Epstein files. And I mean, Trump just has a steady stream of BS coming out of there to distract from all his other BS. He governs by confusion and chaos. And some of it's probably on purpose, and some of it's probably because he's a not very healthy, not overly intelligent 79-year-old man with health issues.
Yeah, speaking of that and everything, and this is for everybody, including you, Sasha, because you follow the economy a lot more than a lot of us here on the panel do, even though I think Sharif does as well. But what is your take on apparently Macron wants the EU to target U.S. big tech after new Trump tariff threat? So apparently European Union is telling Trump to step off in the spat over social media rules and everything like that, because they want to have their own control over their way that they regulate social media. And looks like they're going after a lot of the U.S. big tech and everything. I would imagine that's Google, Facebook, and a number of others as well. So Trump's threatening tariffs on countries that discriminate against U.S. technology. And now it looks like the EU is saying, well, if you're coming after us, we'll come after you. So what is your take on this tech war?
You know the old story when there was a trial of a man who robbed the bank, and the judge asked him, "Why did you rob the bank?" So the man replied, "Because that's where the money is, Your Honor." So these tech companies, the $1 trillion behemoths, it's a very sweet piece of action that even U.S. on its own was for the last several years. They were after the Facebook and Meta, which is sorry, the Google, the Microsoft, the Nvidia, whoever, to snatch the money. So you open some kind of auction, a lawsuit or a congressional hearing or something. So there's a company of that size. Okay, here's a $500 million. Just leave us alone. Okay, here for you, $300 million. Leave us alone, or so on. So they understand, and European governments are no different. They understand what a juicy piece of action there is. As long as they start something, they will definitely get money out of it. So this is nothing but money game. That's all.
It makes sense and everything. Hey, Rick, just really quickly, you mentioned the Epstein files, and one way that you can distract from something is to go after people that are doing something similar. And I just saw that the Department of Justice is just recently, I think they did it on yesterday, gone after a couple of religious leaders who have been accused of forced labor, human trafficking, and money laundering after the FBI raided their facility on I-45 near East Air Tech in Houston, Texas, and everything like that. So apparently the church apostle enslaved workers in Florida and in Texas. And one of the people was saying this felt like a cult. A friend of a former follower shared the experience at the church at the center of a multi-state FBI raid. So we
all right. So just because we have an incompetent government doesn't mean that everything they do is wrong. And in this case, the FBI did something right.
Yeah, but isn't that partially maybe also a distraction, though? Because if you're
I don't know. I mean, not everything is part of a conspiracy or a distraction. That sounds like it's the FBI doing its job.
Okay. Well, I was thinking maybe it was a distraction away from the
everything sounds like we can't believe in every single conspiracy. Most conspiracies turn out to not be true. You know, with Trump, if it's Trump doing something stupid for some mix of weird reasons, it's easier to believe something's true. But there's a lot of, sometimes, an FBI raid is just an FBI raid.
That's true. How big do you think the extent is going to be of these National Guard, or this kind of like military state with the National Guard? Because like I said, we've already had Los Angeles, where you're at. We've got DC, and most people say crime is a major problem in America's cities, but few support a federal law.
I was just reading an article, and Trump talked about how crime-ridden Beverly Hills is.
Right.
It's just a hellhole, right? I mean, if you ask most people in America, if you could switch your house with a house in Beverly Hills, most people would say, I would like to live in Beverly Hills. Trump is saying that people leave their garage doors open and let people take whatever, robbers, whatever they want, because if they close the garage door, they would just beat the door down. And the mayor of Beverly Hills is like, well, no, that sounds like bullshit. I looked at the article I read, said that, the crimes are on the rise in Beverly Hills, but one reason is that's where all the nice stuff is. And people are still mostly safe. And, if you live in Beverly Hills, I'm sure you can afford to have private security. And there's some stuff that people have learned not to do. Don't walk your French bulldog, which is a very stolen dog. It's a fancy little dog that might get, that has people like to steal that dog because it's worth thousands of dollars. Don't, pay attention when you're out with your French bulldog. Don't wear a $500,000 watch on your wrist and while you're eating at an outdoor restaurant. There is some crime, but do you think sending the National Guard onto Rodeo Drive is going to be helpful or effective? The DC National Guard has been filmed raking leaves and picking up a litter in Washington, D.C. parks. It's so I don't know what he's going to. He may keep trying to do this. He's fighting with Chicago about sending troops there.
Well, and now there's a new fight in Florida. We all know that DeSantis is a conservative as well, and apparently Florida cities, ranging probably from Miami to Fort Lauderdale and a number of others, even probably Jacksonville, are racing to save rainbow crosswalks as state removal deadline looms.
Okay, all these culture war a-hole politicians, while they're busy painting over rainbow crosswalks.
Right.
And the rainbow crosswalk that DeSantis is painting over that crosswalk is not designed to say, yay, gay people. That was a memorial to 50 people who were shot to death at the Pulse nightclub. He was painting over a memorial for the dead. But he's been an a-hole for years and years and doesn't serve the citizens of his state very well. While he's doing this bullshit, the homeowners in Florida can't get homeowners insurance. So if their house gets washed away in a storm, they've lost everything. So he's really good at painting crosswalks and really bad at serving the people of his state.
Well, speaking of serving people of the state, and this comes up to one of your favorite people, RFK Jr., and all along those lines. But what is your take on first the firing of the CDC director and the CDC director basically defying and going like, that's all right, I'm not going to leave right now, even though you basically fired me and everything like that. So what is your take on this restructuring going on with our health system?
Well, RFK is a crazy asshole. He believes that eating a lot of vegetables, eating less white bread will save you from disease. Historically, if you look at the history of humans, what you eat has never stopped you from being dead, and eventually. And the idea that we're going to shut down our vaccination program and replace it with fewer sandwiches is just the stupidest, craziest crap in the world. Modern medicine is super effective, and RFK is just throwing it all away.
We got another super crazy thing too, because Georgia's Fulton County apparently is being fined $10,000 a day for not appointing a Republican election board nominee. So until they do that, I guess they got to pay $10,000 a day. So if they wait 10 days, that'll be $100,000 and everything like that, because they're facing this fine for not appointing Republicans. So I guess they wanted to be a little bit more balance, would be my guess, and everything like that. But we'll see how this plays out. But that's a lot of money to be finding somebody to trying for not appointing who you want to be appointed. Hey, anybody, what is our thoughts on what's going on with the John Bolton thing? Because we do know that there had been talk, even when he got elected, that Trump would target his enemies. And it looks like the John Bolton inquiry is eyeing emails that were obtained by foreign governments. And apparently he's ripping, meaning Bolton, President Trump, days after the FBI searched his home and office. So is this a case of a enemy of Trump being targeted?
Well, it is, but they raided his house 6 days ago, and I don't think they've made an announcement of what they found, if anything. They raided his house. They took out a bunch of boxes of documents. I don't see anything so the FBI hasn't announced what they found.
They haven't announced what they found at all and everything like that. And that's what I was going to ask Nick. He isn't here. I'll ask you, and if Sasha wants to join in, or Sharif. But tomorrow, I'm actually supposed to be on a call with a new acquaintance and everything. They're over at Brown University. We know that Brown is one of those Ivy League colleges and everything like that. They're going to be doing their dissertation on Research Triangle Park, and I know y'all have something similar, which is Silicon Valley and everything like that. So the study is going to be to see whether I think their thesis is that the Research Triangle Park destroyed certain neighborhoods and all along those lines, and also that it was not equitable in the way that they went, because a lot of the universities like UNC, Duke, and North Carolina State got benefits from it, but some of our smaller universities be that piece.
So the research triangle has been in place, what, 50 years?
50 years, right?
Okay, so they're fighting an ancient battle. It's I mean, yeah, they disadvantaged neighborhoods always get screwed over. There's a place called Chavez Ravine. That's where they built Dodger Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
To build it, they had to take fire hoses and cops and kick out dozens of families who'd lived there for decades, in these kind of poor houses, but houses just the same. And those people didn't have any power, and they got evicted. I don't know that they got any compensation. There's the most famous one is Robert Moses in Manhattan, where he hated minority people, so he ran these massive highways straight through their neighborhoods. But what others we should
definitely we can get to other things as well. But no, I was just wondering. That's what I was going to bring up to Nick, because Nick's always complaining about the cost of the universities and the universities misusing their money. And I don't know how much this student is going to spend on their dissertation or their thesis and everything, or how much support they got from the university, even if they got university grants. I'll find all this out too.
Well, okay, there's a related thing. So the Trump administration is capping the amount you can borrow to go to school from the federal lenders at, I don't know, it's at 200 grand, or in some cases 20 grand a year. And this is Trump's attempt to reduce the cost of college, because he thinks if less loan money is made available, universities won't be able to keep jacking up their prices.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it doesn't make sense. I don't know, because when Trump does a thing, it's not necessarily based on analysis. It's based on somebody coming up to him in the halls of the White House and saying, hey, here's a thing you could do. And Trump's like, okay.
How big is, speaking of Trump and everything like this, and this is for both Dr. Sharif and I'll start with Sasha as well, because there's this big military parade that's going to be taking place later on today or this weekend and everything in China and Beijing. And apparently the axis of upheaval is what some people are calling it. Some people back in the day would have called it the axis of evil, and all along those lines. So how concerned are people in general about this alignment between Xi, Kim, and Putin and everything like that? Because apparently that Kim Jong-un and Putin are on Xi's guest list for this big military parade. But as you just said earlier, Sasha, a lot of these people are also manipulating. I'm not saying that they're being manipulated, but they're manipulating Trump. So what is your take on these three leaders, and how concerned should we be about them?
Well, first of all, you are forgetting Modi from India.
Right.
He's going to be part of the celebrations. And he is, because of Trump policies, he's now openly supporting China and Russia and whoever else is there. And as I said before, the foreign policy under Trump is a complete disaster for the United States, and it will take years, if not dozens of years, to correct all the damage that Trump inflicted on the United States. Coming back to university situation, I do believe that unless you're getting a degree in law, medicine, accounting, and in some cases engineering, depends what kind of engineering you're studying. All the rest, especially business administration degree and everything else, it's a losing proposition, and heavily losing proposition. You have to come up with, say, $250,000 on average to get that degree. By the time that you will get your degrees, the artificial intelligence will wipe out most of these jobs in business administration, most of it, probably all, but maybe say 97%. So then you, after spending 4 years and $250,000, you will be flipping hamburgers in a local McDonald's or whatever other eatery. What kind of proposition is that? Because not only that, you're losing 4 years of whatever job you would hold. You would earn some money, and sometimes not so bad, not so minimum money. So it's much better unless you are determined and you have ability, including financial, to get into law, medicine, dentistry, accounting, and a few other professions. There is no place for you in university. Just forget that word. University doesn't exist for you. You have to go find meaningful job, go into an apprenticeship programs, learn something useful, and leave and make money. Forget about all this garbage with all the universities.
Well, Rick, before you answer that and everything, I'm going to find a clip and I'm going to clip this particular thing because, as I told you yesterday on the investment show, my two nephews, and I've only got two nephews, that's the two fields that they're going into. So one, the older one, is going to be a lawyer, the other is going to be a civil engineer. So I'm going to clip this and I'm going to send it to them so I can say, Sasha said that y'all are all right. Y'all are good and everything because you're going into the right jobs.
Right. So I have a question for Sasha about Putin's governing style. So Trump just says whatever the heck he wants because he feels like nobody can stop him from doing that. Now, Putin's in a similar position, and probably even more strongly, because Putin's been in power forever. Does Putin just issue a bunch of decrees? Does Putin just do a bunch of random BS to his people, or does he have a less chaotic governing style?
Well, the system under Putin has been established to such a degree that he doesn't actually need any new laws or legislature or just anything. Everything is going exactly as he wants. And if it's not, then he will correct it. But not even personally, but one of his minions will do that. So, and because there's no public opinion in Russia, there's nothing that could easily or even not so easily to affect of what Putin is doing or about to do. There is no responsibilities either on Putin's and his people's side. In US, it's slightly different. Is even now effectively Donald Trump is a tsar. His power is absolutely unlimited. Indeed, he can do anything, what he wants, when he wants, and the U.S. Supreme Court already provided complete immunity to him as long as he is doing it as a president of the United States, complete immunity. So I don't know why he still keeps Congress and House and Senate and so on, why he wouldn't fire all of them. Just go out, get yourself a job, and F yourself.
So is the Ukraine war causing shortages and just wrecking the quality of life of average Russians across the country?
Yeah, big time, big time. Russian economy is on the verge of collapse. And but you see, it doesn't mean that even if it will collapse, that Russia right away will lose this war and capitulate or so on. It's not the case, because if you know history of Second World War, by summer of 1942, a year after being invaded by Germany, Russia lost 60% of its economy. So remaining 40%, they were able to resist Germany and slowly prepare counterattack in Stalingrad, which started, if I remember correctly, on 19th of November, 1942. Okay, so at that time, a lot of people telling me, well, it was a Lend-Lease and great help of America. trust me, by summer of 1942, there was no Lend-Lease, or it was just about to start. So Russia had to really reinforce its own powers, its own manpower and military power, and inflict absolutely incredible victory over Nazis in Stalingrad. And then that was actually the key point of the Second World War. And then they advanced to Kursk battle and so on. Now the rest is history. Now, interestingly enough, that Russia is running out of manpower. It's interestingly that they're now recruiting South African women to come to work in Russia military installations. And how they do it, they promise them very good jobs, mostly, let's see, in hospitality industry, and that they will have studies in university free of charge, and many other things. As soon as they're arriving to Russia, their passports are immediately taken away from them, and they are being forced to work on military production facilities. That's what's happening now. And in fact, some countries are not too happy about it. But look, if Russia wants to hire South African women, and South African women want to be hired by Russians, how you can stop it?
Right.
Yeah, how can you stop things along those lines? But that's what they want, and all in that space. So that would be difficult to stop and everything. Just really quickly, because Rick mentioned it, and I did mention it at the beginning, but roughly how much is the gas going up in Russia? Because I did see that the gas was going up, but I don't know how much it's going up and everything like that. So how much is the gas going up there in Russia?
Well, think. Ukrainians have destroyed 17% of their refineries capacity. So obviously there is a shortage of gas. There are a lot of gas stations which are not even selling gas. They are distributed through so-called talons. So people have to show them a talon, which is a special ticket, probably issued by a government, that the owner of this document would be allowed to get, say, 10 liters of gas. Okay, so you cannot buy gas normally. You have to beg or pay exorbitant prices like bribes to get some gas, or you have to give some bribes to government officials, so you will be issued the document which would allow you to get some gas. It's a pathetic, and some people believe that Russia is much bigger than Ukraine. Russia is much stronger than Ukraine. Russia will win. You know what? In the last 2.5 years, Russia acquired 1% of Ukrainian territory. So it will take 250 years for Russia to get Ukraine. It's not gonna happen. Russian army is not motivated. People are trying to run away, and even there was a well-known tape I've heard a couple of days ago when Russian mother, who lost already 2 sons in Ukraine, her last remaining son, she's because they're getting signing bonus of, I think, 2 million rubles. So she's telling him, go and get your bonus. You have to help your family. He says, I'm scared because, see what's happened to my brothers. I could be killed. She says, it doesn't matter. You must help your family. Whether you'll be alive or you'll be dead, in either case, you will help your family. Go! That's what's happening in Russia.
Yep. Hey, Toby, I see you joined us really quickly and everything along those lines. So what's going on in the technology world? We've only got a few more minutes, and anything that's news related that you wanted to discuss for the last 5 minutes. We've been having a rich discussion. Sharif was here earlier, as was Nick briefly, and everything. So what's on your mind? I know you're the technology wizard.
I got nothing on my mind. I mean, I was just here to listen.
Well, I did the math. A $2 million bonus for joining the Army to go get sent off to get blown up. That's about $25,000.
Absolutely correct.
So, I mean, that's for Russia, that's decent money, and not to die, but if you can somehow, get the bonus and not be killed, that's, I can see why people. So what happens, like hundreds of thousands of Russian men and have escaped Russia, like to Finland and Germany. How do those people live? Like, what if you?
Well, they're robbing local population, raping women. How else they can bring? Well, tell me one thing? What Russia can bring to the world except weapons, murderers, prostitutes, alcohol, and banditism and corruption? What else, Russia? Why anybody in the world needs Russia? Just explain it to me.
But I guess the question that Rick is asking, and if I can just clarify,
Like, I mean,
if they are in exile, are they being supported by, say, the Finnish, or what are they doing in exile? Because what he's saying is that a bunch of people, I guess, abandoned the Russian army, so they're in exile in some of these European countries.
Yeah, I mean, like if I were in Russia, I would definitely run away because I'd be a terrible soldier. I'd get blown up on my second day, so I'd run away to Finland, and then once I'm in Finland, I'm not raping and robbing. What am I doing? Am I going around to businesses, to a bakery and saying, let me sweep up, after the store closes and you give me a couple loaves of bread for my trouble? Or they're like like thousands of hobos like sleeping in the streets of Finland that ran away from Russia?
I'm surprised that nobody explains that to Trump, and they don't in Trump's administration, including Trump. They don't understand that Putin cannot afford any peace under any circumstances because 700,000 plus well-armed people, bloodthirsty because they were killing in Ukraine, so they have blood in their mentality. So it's not too complicated for a person who's coming back from war to kill another person. It's for me, it would be a horrible situation. How can I kill somebody? It's against the law. It's against the God. It's against everything. These people, they don't even think. Bam, and they will kill you, and not necessarily by shooting at you. They will take just anything heavy, and will bang you.
So what you're saying is, you're saying that the soldiers who've been to Ukraine, they come back and they've been hardened, and now they're just committing. Now they're doing crime.
No, they're not hardened. They are animals. After being on a war with Ukraine, killing people, innocent, the raping of the women, they are animals. They are not people, and nothing will change that, except that now, instead of being in Ukraine, now they will do the same thing in Russia. It's already started. In the Kursk region, Russian took back some villages, and the soldiers, you know what they did? They started to rob and rape a local population right in their own Russia. That's what's waiting Russia after the war, by miracle, because I don't believe that there will be any peace situation. But let's see if even if there will be, that's what's awaiting Russia, and Putin cannot afford that. And I'm surprised that Trump doesn't understand that.
And I got that and everything, but Sasha, just really quickly, and then I'll wrap up after I answer you this
Wait,
quick question and everything.
Real quick, because Sasha said something at the very end, and it made me laugh really hard. When you said that you're surprised that Trump doesn't understand.
No, I'm not.
You
he's
see
not
why it
surprised.
made me laugh?
Yeah, that makes him laugh and everything. But just really quick, and then I'll wrap up and we can talk about this on tomorrow and everything. But I guess what Rick was asking is, like, when Vietnam ended, there were a lot of people that came back to the United States, and there were institutions, at least that were supposed to be helping, whether that was the VA or whether that was mental health institutions or whether that was a number of other things. So I guess what I'm asking is, are there not those kind of agencies in place in, say, Finland or Denmark or some of the places that these Russian exiles would be going to that might be trying to improve their situation or their mindset? Because that's what happened in Vietnam, or at least that's what's supposed to happen and everything. So are there not?
I'm not sure that there is a legal way for Russians to enter the European Union countries like Finland or Denmark or just anything else. I'm not so sure about that.
Okay. And what the kind of benefits they're giving them, who knows? But we can talk about that later. We'll end the show on that note, and the fact that you know, we got a good laugh from you and everything. So we're ready to get out of here.
Right.
We'll be back on tomorrow as well.